one, and we are live. Hello, guys. Welcome to another episode of the FilmBrony Podcast. This is episode 22. After a few week hiatus, we're finally back with another episode. I am, of course, the guy in charge of this, Nick Canino. But as always, I'm not alone. I have a couple of guests with me who are with me, including one that started the whole podcast. So would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
My name is Christian Frates, and I am a regular co-host. And I've been collecting a lot of DVDs and VHS tapes ever since I was young, and I'm glad to be a part of this.
Glad to have you on, buddy.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well,
Søren?
the time has come for cinema. The time where Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah,
Sort of.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, the time has come. The time of the year where film studios all around the world come together to make all these Oscar bait dramas just for a cheap way to get that tall golden Oscar on their shelves.
And most of them are very good. Don't get me wrong, but there are some that are just But we'll worry about that when we get to a couple disagreements that Søren and I have. But like I said, we'll worry about that when we get to it.
Yeah.
Anywho, why don't we get started?
Sure.
Okay, as always, we start out with some Blu-ray pickups. So first off is Adventureland.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, I liked it.
Amistad.
One of Steven Spielberg's finest movies.
Bad Boys for Life.
Very good film.
One of this year's biggest guilty pleasures. Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. Basic Instinct.
I love
That's
that
the
movie.
legendary one.
It is a legendary one.
The movie that made Sharon Stone famous for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next, I have Beautiful.
Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu, man.
Cold Mountain.
Nice.
Nice.
Cold War.
That's a great movie.
Enchanted.
Nice. I love that movie.
The Father.
One of the best movies from last year.
Speaking of which, I think I know why Anthony Hopkins wasn't there to accept his Oscar. Because he just wouldn't leave his flat.
Yeah.
The Green Knight.
I love that movie. I also own this too.
The Haunting. The original, mind you.
That's a classic.
Not that shitty remake that John DeBont did.
Oh god, the remake was terrible.
In the Heights.
I also own that too.
Jingle All the Way. Who told you to give my cookies?
Put that cookie down!
Judas and the Black
your cookies?
Judas and the Black Messiah.
Great movie.
Kindergarten Cop. Put
Nice.
that tool back in the carpet.
Yeah. Shut up!
Not a Tulma.
Krampus.
Very underrated. I really like that movie.
Lights Out.
Another overlooked gem.
From the director of Shazam.
Yeah.
Love and Monsters.
Nice.
Maverick.
Nice.
Mia and the Dying Girl.
I love that movie.
Memoirs of a Geisha.
Nice.
Millennium Actress.
Satoshi Kon. One of the most legendary anime directors of all time.
Yep, and I believe I have all 4 of his movies now.
Nice.
The Money Pit,
Nice.
Mother,
I love that movie.
Pop Star Never Stop, Never Stopping.
That's another great one.
Better than Bieber.
Oh, and this next one, Hey Boss Baby, Here's to You. Rocky Horror.
Yeah.
Oh, Søren.
Rosemary's Baby.
That's another classic one. And wait to toss the bitch baby up its ass with that.
Yeah. Serpico.
I love that movie. I also own the tape.
Sing Street.
That's one of the best movies from 2016.
The Suicide Squad in this Target exclusive edition.
I'm gonna be getting that soon.
Yeah, I'll get it for Christmas.
And
Same here.
Speaking of James Gunn superhero movies, Super.
Nice.
Shut up, crime.
Next, I have a movie that's pretty notorious for being the Lego movie in the Oscars, but I do hear this is pretty good on its own. Tale of Princess Gagaya.
Nice. Chris Stuckman had it on his best films of 2014 list, so
This is 40.
my least favorite of the Judd Apatow movies, but it was a good movie.
Next, I have Twins. I did not think Pavement was
Tony
his
J
enemy.
was in Twins.
Oh wow. Oh yeah, he was.
War Horse.
One of Steven Spielberg's finest movies, just like Amistad.
Willy's Wonderland.
I heard a lot of crazy things that are in that film, so
Winter's Bone.
that's a great movie.
And last but not least, Wrath of Man.
Nice.
Yeah.
I only have one. I already mentioned these guys, but the one I did recently get is the Blu-ray of one of my favorite films of the year. A
Quiet Place Part 2.
That is
Great
the
sequel.
absolute masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah,
John Krasinski's the man.
he is.
He sure is. All right, on to our movie reviews. First off, Studio Ghibli's first bad film of what I've heard.
Oh,
Earwig and
jeez.
Witch. Quick question about it.
Oh,
What the hell did I watch? Look, I knew this movie was going to be bad, but holy crap. This is legitimately the comedy event of the year. Oh, not because it had a ton of expertly timed jokes, but because of how disastrously this story was conceived, the characters were written, and the animation was rendered. Hey, remember when Studio Ghibli made some of the most visually stunning animated features of recent memory? Well,
Yes.
neither does this movie, because just look at it. The poorly rendered backgrounds, the cheap-looking props, the characters that literally look like plastic ghosts and you can get from Mattel. I'm not even kidding. And the facial expressions are something to behold. I mean, the faces some main characters make look like something out of those digital dailies from the Jonah DVD. I'm not even joking.
holy shit!
Just look up screen caps for this movie, and you'll have the time of your life.
I also remember you in the group chat. You had a couple of images of like Earwig's faces, and I was like, what the fuck is that?
It looks like Grin
so
and
wonderful
Snippy in
right
here.
now. just take a gander at this shit, folks. You'll get a kick out of it.
From what I hear, it's the studio's equivalent of Cars 2.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate because that face.
Jumbo. I'd say that face is worse than that painting. Why the crap's she looking at me?
What the fuck is that face? What the fuck is that face? What the fuck is that? See, I'm not even kidding. That profile you're seeing there, folks. It's just what happens when all of a sudden when she's experiencing her first orgasm.
Okay.
Oh man! Oh, what a way to start the show!
I haven't gotten a kick out of this since the whole after we go to hell spiel.
Oh, and Eddie had a question. Nick, did you know there's an upcoming Uno movie about a heist? Highlight this comment. I'm like, yes, I did hear about that. This could go in either two ways. Either it'll be good or it'll be absolute shit.
Anyways, like I was
How
saying.
about a Skip-Ball movie? I got invited by Skip-Ball.
Anyways, like I was saying, the characters in Earwig of the Witch are extremely unlikable. The supporting witch is pretty bad, but the main character is straight up irritating. She just wouldn't shut the hell up for a nanosecond, and she's a complete asshole from start to finish. It's impossible to root for anyone in this movie, and the story is completely cookie cutter and derivative of films like Spirited Away and Kiki's Delivery Service. It legit feels like one of those animated mockbusters you'd find at the dollar store. Like Titanic, The Legend Goes On, or Finding Jesus.
Or Strongbed would say, The Princess and Her Secret Authority, Figure 4. Or Jungle Animals in Non-Decidedly Jungle Situations.
Yeah.
When you mention Titanic, The Legend Goes On, there's only one thing that comes up in every people's mind.
The rapping dog.
Yup.
Yeah, and John's like, what the fucking fuck?
I want to answer Jose's question. Do you think this is worse than Chicken Little? Actually, it's pretty hard to say. Although I do have a kind of a soft spot for Chicken Little since I saw it a lot as a kid, and as Animat has pointed out in the recent video, that movie pretty much saved Disney in a way.
Well, there's a deleted scene in Chicken Little where Mayor Turkey Lurkey gives the dad a pep talk. It's really heartwarming.
If only the rest of the movie was like that.
Yeah, and if only that scene was kept.
Yeah,
too.
anyways, the one upside for Earwig is that it's pretty fun to rip apart this movie. This truly is the room in terms of animated films, in terms of story, dialogue, acting, and production values. I'd actually kind of recommend this as kind of an MST3K experience. But as a Studio Ghibli film, yeah, to say it's lacking is quite an understatement. -2 out of 10.
Not good enough. F-.
Oh, brother.
Anyways, next review is Arlo the Alligator Boy. This was pretty average. A predictable as hell story, music that ranges from pretty good to pretty mediocre, a couple plot holes here and there, as well as one or two scenes that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, especially in the scene where, no joke, a cat and a cow French kiss inside a train car. But good animation, well-meaning characters, and a decent message saved this from being bad. So either see it or don't. 5 out of 10. Oh, and to answer Jose's question, -2 out of 10. Just look up Jill Apocalypse's reviewed in 10 words or less, and you'll know what I mean.
I still
Anyways,
can't get over that.
Gunpowder.
That ever since I saw that scene that you showed me in the group chat, like a cat and a cow and a French kissing, like what the shit?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it myself either. Anyways, Gunpowder Milkshake. This is pretty much on the same level as the Protege. An overdone story and some slow parts, but with solid acting, fun mise-en-scène and style, and well choreographed action sequences. No game changer, but a mild recommendation. 6 out of 10. This next movie, though, is an extreme recommendation, and that is a movie called Mass. This might be this generation's 12 Angry Men in a way.
Oh, Mass, yes.
You'd think a movie about a conversation fixed within one room would be born as sin, but the director pulled up this compelling and real story in the aftermath of a school shooting between the parents of the shooter and victim. All four of the actors, as well as the writing, feel real, and you feel every emotional beat they go through. If you can handle the slow pace, you're in from one of the most unique and emotionally resonating films of recent memory. So 10 out of 10.
I agree with what Søren said. Since I also saw this movie, it is without a doubt this generation's 12 Angry Men. Like, I mean, the story alone, I was interested in checking this one out because of the amount of praise we've received ever since it premiered at the Sundance Film Festival earlier this year, and because of the story involving like the aftermath of the school shooting. And I originally was going to see this in theaters, but due to scheduling conflicts, I didn't get a chance to see that one. But I did see it on my computer. My God, what an incredible film! This has some of the best performances I've seen this entire year, including Rebirth, including two from like Jason Isaacs and Ann Dowd. They were absolutely incredible. The performances are absolutely spectacular, as I mentioned before, including Reed Birney and Martha Plimpton. But it's Ann Dowd and Jason Isaacs that gives up one of the most powerful, natural, emotional, and realistic performances I've ever seen put to film this entire year. It was just absolutely incredible the way they were able to like act in the film. Absolutely incredible. The cinematography is fantastic. The script is absolutely fantastic. Since it's filled with fantastic dialogue and characters that feel real and well developed. The story had me emotionally invested. It was very well directed, and it's well shot, well edited, very well paced. Mass is without a doubt one of the best movies I've seen this year, and I'm definitely going to give this without a doubt a 10 out of 10. But this isn't the only 10 out of 10.
My next movie review is Army of Thieves.
This isn't the only 10 out of 10 movie you'll see on the show, because we have two more that we're going to talk about later on when we get to them. So, anyway, you were saying, Søren?
Anyways, I was going to get to my next review, which is Army of Thieves. You know, for a prequel that seems unnecessary, especially since Army of the Dead isn't even a year old, I actually liked this more than the previous movie. The director directed a solid heist thriller with good writing and dialogue, fine editing and pacing, and solid cinematography. The cast is also really good too, especially the main lead. I will say that it kind of drags a little in the third act, and some of the ties to Army of the Dead seem tacked on. I'd still recommend this if you're in for a good little heist movie. So 8 out of 10. Last Night in Soho.
Basically Sly Cooper meets Army of the Dead.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyways, Last Night in Soho. This movie was an absolute blast. Edgar Wright kills it in his first dramatic film, which is a completely thrilling mind screw. The way he directs it really gives me vibes of Suspiria, and the mind-bending screenplay and the story is almost like Perfect Blue in a way, in how much of a puzzle it is for you to solve. Both Thomasin McKenzie and Alan Taylor-Joy are spellbinding in the leads, and the soundtrack, as you'd expect in an Edgar Wright film, is killer. So whatever you guys do, stop watching this video, go to the theater, or rent it online, and see one of the most mind-bending and thrilling films of the year. So 10 out of 10 for me.
I also saw this movie, and I absolutely love Last Night in Soho. I'll say this: it's not quite as masterful as like Baby Driver or the Cornetto trilogy, but Edgar Wright nevertheless did a fantastic job with this film. If I had one minor gripe I did have with the film, is that there were some supporting characters that did feel a bit underdeveloped, like who Thomasin McKenzie's character comes across to at the beginning of the film. I felt they were underdeveloped, but that's really it. I absolutely love this movie. The script was fantastic. It's filled with fantastic dialogue. It's very well directed by Edgar Wright. The soundtrack is incredible. The acting is incredible as well. Thomasin McKenzie is absolutely phenomenal in this movie, but it's Anya Taylor-Joy. My God, that really, really gives out such a powerful performance in the film. I also love how it's like Chris Stuckman also pointed this out in his review. I love how, and I actually agree with him. This movie also does a fantastic job of being like a deconstruction on like nostalgia, like how you're like, man, when you're like listening to music, you're like, man, the 60s must have been the best time to live in. But then when you actually see what really happened in the 60s, you're like, thank God I'm not in that. Thank God I'm not in that timeline.
That's the same for what it applies to The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
Because it really deconstructed the nostalgia. For example, Walter keeps living in the past and says that he is Jewish, but he's actually Polish Catholic.
Yeah. The production values of costume design was absolutely terrific. When it came to the scares in the film, but when it came to like the horror elements in the film, it felt very well done, including, I'm not going to spoil what happens, but there's this thing towards the end of the film where it really caught me off guard, and in a good way. And I was like, that was one of the best things I've ever seen put to film this entire year. I absolutely love this movie. While it's not quite as masterful as some of Edgar Wright's like previous works, I did find Last Night in Soho to be one of my favorite films of the year regardless. 9.5 out of 10 or an A. Good job, Edgar Wright.
He's a great director.
He is. And I think I found my pick.
Like with Wes Anderson.
Sorry. What I was trying to say is that I think this might be my pick for the most underrated film of the year. Despite it getting at 75%.
I was gonna say, why call it underrated if it has positive reviews? But then you mentioned the 75%, and yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, like with Wes Anderson last episode, I have a low ranking of Edgar Wright for you. So my number 6 is his weakest one, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. My number 5 is The World's End. My number 4 is Shaun of the Dead. Number 3 is Last Night in Soho. Number 2, Baby Driver. And number 1 is his magnum opus, Hot Fuzz.
Nice.
Good taste.
As for my ranking, well, my least favorite, even although I do love this movie, is Last Night in Soho. I still love this movie, don't get me wrong, but I do think it's like the weakest of his movies, even despite the fact that I do love this movie. Number 5 is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Number 4 is The World's End. Number 3. I'm sorry. Number 3 is Shaun of the Dead. Number 2, Hot Fuzz. And my favorite Edgar Wright movie, Baby Driver.
All right, so our next movie review has been one of our most anticipated films of the year, not just because of the studio, but because of its director, who just recently won the Best Director Oscar, and my second favorite film of last year, Nomadland.
Oh, yeah.
And now, it's the most disappointing film of the year. Marvel's Eternals.
Good thing I didn't see it in theaters, though.
You're really not missing much, honestly, Christian.
Yeah, you're not really
Thank
missing
you.
much. Few things stop me from calling this a total disaster. The ambition of the story is definitely there, and the cast consists of diverse and talented actors who each deliver a decent performance. Unfortunately, ambition and diversity can only be as effective as the story and characters, which barely deliver. I do appreciate that.
Sorry. Go ahead.
I do appreciate their efforts at telling this grand scale story, but it was both bland as a bland get the game back together to save the day story and a confusing mess. You'll need to check the Wikipedia page on your phone every 10 minutes to understand half the plot and remember half the characters' names.
Which is really unfortunate.
Almost none of the characters.
At least it gave people the first look of a certain Marvel character who was previously played by Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, although his appearance does seem kind of out of nowhere. Anyways, almost none of the characters stood out to me, and not even talented actors like Angelina Jolie or Cameo Nanjiani. Kumail Nanjiani, thank you, helped that much.
You're welcome.
The directing is just confused. Some of the effects look pretty good, and others look like something out of the theatrical cut of Justice League. Some of the cinematography looks beautiful, and other times it's just too dark to tell half the action. Some of the humor lands, but the rest suffer from awkward timing and severe shift in tone. Like, it can go from personal and serious to comedic faster than the entirety of the DCEU. Like, this is one scene where this most stood out to me. It's when the group sees Cameo Nanjiani, and he just got done shooting this grand Bollywood musical number, and he's like, "Hey guys, what's up?" And the group is like, "Hey, by the way, Ajax is dead." You know what this really reminds me of? That scene in Dragon Ball Evolution where Goku meets this one guy, Roshi, I believe, and
Master Roshi.
Master Roshi. Thank you. And Roshi is like, "Hey, I'm Roshi. I'm this big comic relief, and I'm here too." And then Goku is like, "Oh, by the way, my grandfather's dead." And Roshi is like, yeah, really reminded me of that. Plus, the post-credit scenes that are supposed to get me hyped for the next movies instead baffled me and underwhelmed me. So, if you guys like this movie, I can completely understand. It does have its scale and ambition for a Marvel property. It's just that the story and characters fail to grab me as much as I'd like. Yeah. Even though I didn't love many of Marvel's weakest efforts like Captain Marvel, Iron Man 2, or Doctor Strange, they at least have something for me to look back fondly on. This one has it too, but not as prominently. All are showing in the weakest MCU so far. So don't you dare let me down. No way home. So 5 out of 10.
Well, as much as I like Selma Hayek, her character was originally male, and there was some Marxism there, and the character was changed to female, kind of like Taskmaster, who was originally male but was changed to a bland female.
Yeah. I also saw the movie, and I'm just going to get this out of the way. I do not think it's the worst of the MCU movies. It's far from that. I still think like Thor: The Dark World and the overrated Ant-Man and Wasp are worse. But this is definitely one of their weakest movies. The acting is good. Most of the acting is good. The cinematography is beautiful. This is a beautiful looking film. The musical score is great. The visual effects are very good, and I also like the action sequences and the way it was edited. Unfortunately, what we're left with is a movie that really felt half-baked and just underdeveloped and underwhelming. The story was a mess. The script, as so was the script and the directing. I was very disappointed with the directing with Chloe Zhao's directing. I do see her vision and what she was trying to go for, but it's so clumsily directed that it was really hard for me to get invested. Also, Richard Madden was absolutely terrible in this movie. His character was poorly developed, and his acting was so shallow. I have to agree with Jay Batters. Who, by the way, if you guys have not seen Jay Batters' review of Eternals, where he called it mediocre, I highly recommend that one. He points out some really good points about why Eternals is mediocre. I'll have that in the link after the show, but do check out his YouTube channel too. He's a really good YouTuber too. Also, it's poorly paced and 157 minutes. Really. Look, I understand you're trying to be like what Avengers Endgame did when it was 3 hours long, but here's the problem. Avengers Endgame at least only felt like 2.5 hours. This was so poorly paced that it just felt like 4 hours.
Yeah.
And the script also really, and when I said the script was like messy as hell, I really mean it. Like, not only some of the dialogue clunky, but the characters are really hard for me to get invested in.
Yeah, and Jack Kirby must be spinning in his grave.
Yeah, really.
Because he did create those characters.
Yeah, he did. Well, and this is not like the way you should like put them on screen. Also, Nicholas Lee had this question. What do you think of Iron Man 2? I didn't think Iron Man 2 was that bad.
It's above average. The best thing about it is Sam Rockwell.
Well,
yeah, I give Iron Man 2 a 6 out of 10.
Well, it was okay, but without it, there won't be a proper setup of characters like Black Widow.
Right. So I don't think it's so, and the way it ended was just really underwhelming, to be honest. I was very disappointed with the way it ended. So overall, it wasn't terrible. I don't think it's the worst of the MCU movies, but this is definitely one of their weakest movies. I originally gave it a 5.5 out of 10, but the more I thought about it, the more I just really don't like this film. 5 out of 10, sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that No Way Home could be better.
I hope so, because that looks really good.
Yeah,
it does.
And Shang-Chi, in my opinion, was the only decent part of Phase 4 so far.
It's the only great one, honestly, so far. Which I gotta be honest. Except for a couple of MCU films in the Phase 4 I'm really looking forward to, such as like the next Thor movie and like some other Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Like Guardians?
Yeah, Guardians 3. Am I the only one that's like concerned about Marvel at this point?
I mean, I do have faith in Kevin Feige's vision, because at least he has a vision with the unlike Warner Brothers, who doesn't know how to do the DCEU.
Right, exactly. I do trust him, but I just hope as years go by, they don't fall, because I'm really worried that they could fall into that quantity over quality situation.
At least Walter D'Amato was nice enough to give James Gunn a vision for DC.
Okay, so I mean, it's not what it is right now, but it's just something I'm really worried about in the near future. But who knows what will happen. So
Yeah.
Anyway, next review.
Okay, so my next review is a movie called Finch, and this is yet another case of a movie dumped onto a streaming service turning out to be miles better than most films that stay in theaters. To me, this is a must-see for those who have Apple TV, with the stellar direction that really reminded me of Pixar's WALL-E, with both its apocalyptic setting and the visual storytelling moments. Tom Hanks delivers a stellar performance as always, but it's Caleb Landry Jones who steals the show as the robot. The cinematography is great, and the story is hella emotional. So if you want to see a movie that combines I Am Legend and Castaway in a powerful and emotional way, this is a movie for you. So support this overlooked movie any way you can. 10 out of 10 from me.
Nice.
It's basically Sheriff Woody meets WALL-E for the first time.
Yeah. Or Johnny Five.
Super Bowl special where Woody and Buzz talk about WALL-E back in 2008.
Oh, yeah.
I'll have to look it up when I get a chance. Anyways, next review is Spencer. The director of Jackie has done it again with the fantastic production values, great atmosphere and music, and possibly Kristen Stewart's best performance as a mother who deals with the process of being the famous Princess Diana that she is. And if she gets nominated for the Oscar for this movie, the Twilight Saga will officially be an afterthought.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the best performances of the year and one of the best films of the year, 10 out of 10.
I also love this movie. Spencer was a mesmerizing feast, a mesmerizing and riveting experience from start to finish, featuring, in my opinion, the best performance I've seen this year so far by Kristen Stewart as Princess Diana, as well as like a fantastic musical score, jazzy musical score composed by Johnny Greenwood, and amazing production values and costume design, spectacular cinematography, and amazing directing, fantastic writing, fantastic story, and as well as the rest of the acting being absolutely fantastic, from like Sally Hawkins to Timothy Spall to the two young actors that played died Princess Diana's kids. This one, to the film having, without spoiling it, one of my favorite endings I've seen put to film this entire year. This one is an absolute, it's masterful experience that I will never ever forget. And if you were to compare it to like Jackie, I guess Jackie is kind of a bit superior, but like I said, Spencer is a great movie. I love Jackie and Spencer both. I know they're two different movies, but they're both from the same director, Pablo Larraín. And what I also loved about this movie, and why I think it's one of the year's best films, is that I also love how it delves deeper into like Princess Diana, like what she went through and what she excuse me, experienced, especially when it came to some of the chilling stuff that I'm not going to give it away, but some stuff that really like were like chilling to watch. I absolutely love this movie very much. And what I also, and really quick, I also love when I said it also delves deep to Princess Diana, like how she's like stalked by like the paparazzi and like other things, and that was very well handled. And I absolutely love this movie. It's one of the best movies. Spencer's without a doubt one of the best movies I've seen this year, and Kristen Stewart absolutely gives out one of the year's very best performances. And without a doubt, I'm absolutely going to give Spencer a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. I've seen Spencer in theaters, and it was amazing. The performances were amazing, particularly Kristen Stewart, who I think should get an Oscar nomination this year.
Yes.
And the sets were authentic, and it greatly captured Diana's life. There was some historical revisionism, not trying to spoil anything, but it was done well, like how Tarantino did for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And it's so amazing that I would like to get it on Blu-ray someday. My dad loved it, and I give it a 10 out of 10.
Nice. Yeah, it's one of the year's best films. I absolutely love this movie, and I highly recommend you check this one out. If you can get through the slow burn pace, though, then you're in for one of the most exhilarating and mesmerizing experiences I've seen this year. Well done, Pablo Larraín.
Good job, Pablo.
Seriously. First Jackie, and now this one. Great job.
All right, so my next movie review is Netflix's Red Notice. So, a spy movie with Deadpool, Wonder Woman, and Black Adam together. What could go wrong? Okay, that's a trick question. What can go wrong? What can go on is a by-the-numbers plot, unremarkable fight scenes, camera work and visual effects so cheap you'd think all that money went to the actors and nothing else. Emphasis more on the three leads' chemistry than the actual plot, and an ending that'll leave you baffled. That's what can go wrong. But hey, it's not the worst movie this year where Ryan Reynolds was in a spy movie with a black man and a woman, so there's that. 4 out of 10.
Yeah, but the real plot of the movie happens to be Gal.
Yeah, really.
Oh, jeez.
Anyways, Belfast. To say that Kenneth Branagh needed this after Artemis's foul stints is an understatement. The hype truly is real for this one. Belfast delivers a moving and personal story about childhood, growing up, and the little things that keep our spirits up, with a fantastic cast that's bound to get a ton of Oscar love and top-tier direction with lots of cinematography and great writing. This is truly one not to miss, as it is one of this year's very best. 10 out of 10.
This is the best movie I've seen this year so far. Kenneth Branagh did an incredible job crafting the story, the semi-autobiographical, like, coming-of-age dramedy involving when he grew up, involving his time in Belfast from 1969 all the way through 1970. Were you going to say
Kenneth, just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go do something like this and totally redeem yourself. True, he did redeem himself.
Oh, that was good. Yeah, this is the best movie I've seen this year so far. The cinematography is absolutely beautiful. This is the best looking movie I have seen this year so far. Shot beautifully in black and white with some color segments. This reminded me of one of my all-time favorite movies, Schindler's List, and the way it was shot. And I love how it also goes into detail on like some certain characters and the shots too. That was very well done. The acting is absolutely phenomenal. Jude Hill as Buddy is absolutely incredible. This is one of the best. I'm not even kidding when I say this. This is one of the best performances I've seen from a child actor since Roman Griffin Davis as JoJo all the way back in 2019 from Jojo Rabbit.
As well as Haley Joel Osment from The Sixth Sense.
Yes, I was just going to mention that. Excuse me. The rest of the acting is absolutely terrific too. From Katrine I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. As Ma, she was absolutely incredible. Jamie Dornan, though, I was blown away by his performance. This is the best that he's been in so far in a film. Judi Dench was absolutely incredible. Siren Hines is fantastic. The soundtrack is incredible. It's very well edited. The story was fantastic. It was very well written and well directed by Kenneth Branagh. It's very well directed because you could see the vision he was trying to go for with this and the way he directs the actors in the film, which is absolutely incredible. And the writing is absolutely terrific too, because not only is the dialogue riveting, but the characters feel real and fleshed out. And I should also mention that the movie's humor was absolutely spectacular. Like there were a lot of points there were a lot of times in the film where it had me laughing at some of the things that were in the film, including some of the dialogue, which I was very surprised by, and in a good way. And on top of that, it also has one of the most emotional endings I've ever seen put to film this entire year. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but for those who have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And all in all, when I saw this with my mom in the theater, we both bawled our eyes out by the time it was over. I mean, it was just absolutely emotional from start to finish. And Nicholas Lee also said this: I can't believe he went to the 50 Shades trilogy, which was horrible, to this masterpiece. That is the fact that Jamie Dornan went from those shit films, even though it wasn't really his fault, all the way to like this masterpiece this year, that is like a mind-blowing 180 right there.
Yeah,
similar to
Uno card.
Yeah, similar to how Dakota Johnson went from 50 Shades to me, the pretty underrated Suspiria remake.
Yeah, and the Peanut Butter Falcon.
Yeah.
I absolutely love this movie. This movie is absolutely... If I were to describe Belfast in these following words, it would be this: powerful, riveting, funny, entertaining, moving, and absolutely exhilarating. Belfast was without a doubt the best movie I've seen this year so far, and easily a deadlock in my top 3 best films of the year list. This is the best movie I've seen this year so far, and I would go as far as to say that this is my favorite Kenneth Branagh film since Hamlet. I absolutely love this movie. It's easily the best movie I've seen this year so far. It's one of the year's very best, I should say, and I'm definitely going to give Jackie, this is the 3rd time I'm doing this, I'm going to give Jackie... I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm going to give Belfast a 10 out of 10. This is one of the year's very best movies. So if you have not seen it, do yourself a favor, get out there to a theater near you and see it as soon as you can. Or if you can't, watch it online. Run it online. So, yeah, Kenneth Branagh, well done, sir. And this needs to get nominated for Best Picture right away. It needs a lot of love right away, because this is a wonderful film from start to finish. Do not miss Belfast. It's one of the year's very best movies.
Yeah, and to think that this is a second Oscar caliber film in a row where a actor from a Twilight-like film redeemed him or herself. First with Kristen Stewart and Spencer, now with Jamie Dornan in Belfast.
Yeah.
And then next year we're going to have Edward Cullen as Batman.
I'm excited to see that.
Now, then again, he was in Harry Potter.
Yeah, he was.
Now to see if Taylor Lautner can ever redeem his career.
It's going to be hard for him to like.
Well, anyways, did you know that Ashley Greene voiced Batgirl in Arkham Knight?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, alongside Jonathan Banks, John Noble.
Jeez, wow.
Anyways, our next movie review, we went from masterpieces to bad films.
Oh, God.
First up is Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, this was not a good movie at all. A couple of the actors were trying, including John Cleese, who was clearly guilt-tripped into this movie, and the girl who plays Emily. And there are some...
you know what the sad thing is, so? They were easily the best scenes in the whole film.
Yeah, and there were some laughs here and there, and it delivered a decent message.
Yeah.
However, the rest of the cast was phoning it in. The CGI is severely lacking, and most of the humor is predictable.
Oh, God, the CGI and the rest of the humor. God.
And my dad's friend, Susie Thornton, brought her young relatives to see Clifford the Big Red Dog movie. I was like, why are you letting them watch that? Watch the original cartoon with John Ritter instead.
The original PBS animated series is a great show.
Yeah. Grey Delisle was Emily Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand you wrong.
Yeah. She's also a very talented voice actress, by the way. Grey Delisle or Grey Griffin.
Yeah, and this is probably the least bad of these cartoon to live action movies this year, but Hollywood, just stop with these already and just let us have the originals already, okay? So, Clifford the Big Red Dog, 4 out of 10.
Oh my God, yeah. Look, I do love seeing cartoon characters in the real world, but it's just like, this is not the way to like execute it. Again, going back to what I said with Tom and Jerry, what I said with that Tom and Jerry movie, if you want to see a better movie that combines like live action and animation well, watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
And my suggestion is not just that, but also Looney Tunes back in action.
Yes.
Yeah, and Paddington.
That too. Paddington 1 and 2.
And Mary Poppins.
Yep. To single out what I did like about the film, like I said, Darby Camp and John Cleese were the only good actors in the film. They gave out some decent. The rest, most of the acting is decent. I did like John Debney's musical score. That was decent. It's not the best I've heard this year, but it was pretty decent. The cinematography is very good, and I did laugh at like 15% of the jokes. Okay, 20% just to be fair, and it did have a decent message too, which I would have given this a pass if it wasn't for the execution.
At least Paramount had a better time with CGI characters in Sonic the Hedgehog with the redesign. That was better.
Yeah. That's a way better movie, honestly.
Yeah.
That's a way better movie. The story's a predictable mess. The script is terrible. The script is a mess. The directing is terrible. I did mention in my positives that most of the acting was good, decent. There were 2, though, that really got under my nerves. Jack Whitehall as Emily Elizabeth's brother. Oh my God, he was so annoying in the film. Like, and worst of all, he looked like he didn't even want to be there. What's even worse about his character is that he's one of those characters that comes up as being a comic relief just for the sake of it, which is one of my biggest pet peeves in movies. I hate when movies do that. But by far, the worst performance in the film is Tony Hale as the villain. Oh my God.
He went from playing Sporky to this.
Oh my God. I could not stand him in this movie.
Actually, it's Forky, not Sporky.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah. how was the chemistry with the dog and the main girl? You ask Eddie. Look, I would say it was fine if the CGI wasn't god awful.
Yeah, and if John Ritter was still alive and voiced Clifford while talking to the dogs, like in the cartoon.
Yeah, really. Yeah, Tony Hill. I mean, as soon as I saw him on screen, I knew he was going to be the villain. And sure enough, I was right. I called it.
Yes, and that also applied to Alvin and the Chipmunks, the road chip.
Which it was by the same director.
Yeah.
Look, I'll say this. This is probably his least bad of all the movies he made, but oh my god, this was just really just it was terrible. Okay, not terrible, but still pretty bad. 80% of the jokes fall very flat, since most of them are like too much on like toilet humor, like poop and fart and pee. Just that really gets under my nerves sometimes. I mean, if it served a purpose, then I would understand.
Because, for example, for Captain Underpants, that had purpose.
Yes. Yeah, it did.
And the Shrek movies as well.
Yeah.
Not to mention had a comic relief character, a donkey, that served a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
exactly. Also, this also has one of the worst scenes I've seen put to film this entire year. It was spoiled in the trailers, but they do show it in the film. And it was the scene where Clifford almost eats a dog. A fucking dog.
That's cannibalism, man!
Which is in fact frowned upon in most societies.
You know what? I'm just gonna play this clip. I'm just gonna play this clip to describe my feelings towards this.
I know what he's gonna play.
Here it comes. Holy shit! We'll always love you. I can't wait to God! Look, it's not the worst thing I've seen this year. I've seen worse movies this year, but it's just, this movie is just not good, and it's just not worth your time, guys. Just watch something better than this. And honestly,
or even Clifford's Really Big Movie.
Yeah, honestly, that's a way better film.
Yeah.
Than this miserable trip. 3 out of 10. Like I said, it's not the worst thing I've seen this year. I'm very thankful it wasn't as abysmal as like Tom and Jerry, but make no mistake, this is not a good movie. Just don't waste your time with this one, guys. Just, even if you have kids, show them better movies. Show them better movies that have characters that feel relatable and have good messages in it. Show them better movies, like including one we're going to talk about in a little bit, as well as Raya and this year with the Mitchells versus the Machines. Show them those films; those are way better. And Luca, I should say.
And speaking of shitty live-action kids movie cast cramps.
Oh no!
Home Sweet Home Alone. Well, to quote a Søren Killer Crown, where do we begin? This is yet another unnecessary sequel to the well-beloved Christmas 1990 classic and its tolerated follow-up, Lost in New York. After a third one which was bad, a fourth one which was atrocious, and a fifth which was whatever, How does this fare out? You know what? There's no point in leaving you hanging. This movie blows. Getting to the story, it doesn't even focus on the kid played by Archie Yates being home alone. Instead, the focus is on these two robbers who turn out to be a married couple who think this kid stole this rare doll which could save their home. This little misunderstanding could be a potentially funny misdirect on paper. The problem is execution. Because this movie focuses on the wrong things, it makes the kid extremely underdeveloped and, as a result, unlikable. All we see of him is getting overwhelmed by his family, sneaking into a garage to sleep it out, causing him to miss his family leaving for the airport, him having fun alone, noticing the robbers snooping around. Snooping as usual, I see.
I got my Power Trip card to see that quote.
Torturing them in some pretty painful traps until they all realize the misunderstanding just in time for his mom to reunite with him. And then I was like, wait, did I miss something? Now, the reason why the first two Home Alones work is that these funny pratfalls and heartfelt moments feel earned. Why? Because Macaulay Culkin was given time to be developed and learn his lesson about family instead of just, oh look, my family left me home alone. Well, time to defend myself on these robbers. Freaking ridiculous. By the way,
Yeah, really.
McLaughlin. Call me McLaughlin.
Yeah,
By the
and going back to what you said about Home Alone 2, even though Home Alone 2 is basically a copy and paste story of the first film, I still liked it, mainly not just because of the characters, but because when they do set up the traps in this one, it's actually a lot different and very well done.
Yeah. By the way, Buzz from the first movie makes a cameo as the dumbest cop in the world.
Oh my god.
And he's just there to make wink-wink references to a much better film. Seriously, Bobby from the Loud House movie was less shoehorned in than this. So overall, this is every bit as bad as you'd expect. Besides some decent stuff with the robbers and a couple inventive tracks in there is literally no reason not to just pop in the first two classic Home Alones again. 2 out of 10.
And, before we move on to the next movie, it's just... There was no way I was going to see this movie. Due to two reasons. Number one, it's from the director of one of the worst movies I've seen in my life, Dirty Grandpa. AKA the movie that ruined Robert De Niro's career.
At least until The Irishman and Joker, but you were saying.
Right, that would be 3 years later, but even still. And number two, this is the biggest reason. Corey Coleman pointed this out in his Double Toaster review, and I'm going to say the same thing. This is 6 movies. 6 movies. 6 movies. You know what? I'm gonna show this. It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. What the fuck are your parents? What are your parents? I'm gonna call Child Protective Services. It's time to stop. Seriously, enough with these movies. Enough with these Home Alone movies. They're getting really old, and they're just getting repetitive at this point. It's just first two are fine. Watch those and watch those instead of this. Just Disney, Fox, and Dan Mazer. Shame on you guys.
Yeah.
It's
an example on how not to continue a franchise.
Yeah, really. They're just continuing to abuse the franchise all because they want their Benjamins. Yeah, well, you know what? Judging by their negative reviews by not only critics but audiences as well, you guys failed. And you should all be ashamed of yourselves.
Yep. let's just move on to the next review.
Yeah, let's just do this before I get more pissed off.
And Netflix's Passing. This is a pretty solid racial drama. Both Tessa Thompson and Ruth Negga. No, that's not racist. Get your head out of the gutter. They lead a cast of great performances, and Rebecca Hall delivers in her well-rounded screenplay and solid direction. It may suffer from some pacing issues and a soundtrack which can be kind of grating at times, but I'd still recommend this drama 8 out of 10.
I like this movie a lot. The only issues I did have with the film is that it did suffer through a couple pacing issues here and there, and this is one. And I was not a fan of the ending. This is one of those endings. I get they were trying to be ambiguous with this, but this is one of those endings that left more questions than just answers. I get why she did that, but I just felt it could have been more well executed. But besides that, this was a very good movie. As Søren mentioned, the two actresses, Tessa and Ruth, they did an absolutely incredible job. They absolutely give out terrific performances, and the chemistry they had was absolutely terrific too. The rest of the acting is terrific. The cinematography is shot beautifully in black and white. This is one of the best looking movies I've seen this year, and the production values and costume design are absolutely terrific. Since it feels like you're back in the 1920s, where this movie takes place in. I found the story to be emotionally engaging, the script to be very good. It's very well directed. It's very well edited. There are some humorous moments in it, and I really love the soundtrack for this. It was very well done. So, yeah, I've really, really dug Passing a lot. It's one of the better films I've seen this year, and I give it a 9 out of 10.
I haven't seen this film yet, but I've heard that Ruth Negga is a great actress. I liked her performance as Raina in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
All right, so our next movie review is Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yes!
One of the most underrated films of the year.
Yep, this is a better movie than Busters, and that's all that matters. Okay, review over. But seriously, though, this was a fun trip. It
was.
It combines the right amount of nostalgia and with new elements that as not to seem too familiar, and the cast is fantastic with the child actors Paul Rudd and the old cast giving it their all. The effects and music are also really good. It may be a little low scale than I'd expect, and sometimes the nostalgia beats can be a bit much, but hey, it could be worse, as we've learned in 1989 and 2016. So Afterlife gets an 8 out of 10.
Honestly, this is the best of the Ghostbusters sequels. I do like Ghostbusters 2.
Do you consider the video game to be one of them?
Well, no. Oh, hold on a second.
Because I consider the 2009 game as Ghostbusters 3.
Yeah, I mean, I like to separate the movies from like the games. It's just so that's why I don't consider that like the sequel. But this is really the best of the Ghostbusters movies, and I love I really liked Ghostbusters 2. Yeah, it's not great, but I definitely enjoyed it more than Busters, even though I didn't think Busters was really all that bad. It was just mediocre. Ghostbusters Afterlife though was just a fun nostalgia movie. The acting is great. The acting is very good. McKenna Grace is absolutely terrific in this movie. Paul Rudd was hilarious. He was by far one of the best things in the whole. One of the best parts in the whole film. Finn Wolfhard is very good. Carrie Coon did a very good job playing the mother, and excuse me, the visual effects are very good. I really like the story. It's very well directed, and a lot of people have been criticizing like the fan service it uses, and to me, I do see where they're coming from with this. I mean, if you're not a fan of those fan service movies, then you might not like this one. But to me, the fan service was fit very well into the film. It fit very well into the film because not just because of the way it fit the story, but because of the nostalgic tone as well.
Yeah.
And without spoiling what happens, it has one of my favorite final moments and one of my favorite last 10-minute movies I've seen put to film this entire year.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to spoil what happens, but if you guys seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. But the soundtrack is very good. The cinematography is great. The editing is good. If I had to point out a couple issues with the movie, I would say the film did suffer through a couple pacing issues here and there, and I do feel the script could have used some more work with some of the characters and with some of the characterization, some of the supporting characters. But that's really it. I really like this movie a lot, and I honestly I think it's one of the most underrated movies I've seen this year. 8 out of 10.
And here's my review of Ghostbusters Afterlife. My favorite, it's a great sequel, and it does render some of the events of a 2009 game non-canon, but it's pretty good overall. I liked the fan service, and I liked the returning and new cast, particularly with Paul Rudd and McKenna Grace and Carrie Coon. And a certain character from the video game appears in this, but I'm not going to tell you who.
Right.
Yeah, and there's some 2 bonus scenes during the end credits that you shouldn't miss. And the director himself happens to be the director of the first 2 movies. Ivan Reitman, his son Jason Reitman, directed this.
Right, and Ivan Reitman was the producer for this, so
yeah, I'd say this and Zack Snyder's Justice League are examples that studios should listen to fans.
Yeah.
And both of them work out well.
Mm-hmm.
And they both undid many mistakes of the previous iterations. For example, Ghostbusters and Justice League have ruined a franchise, while these 2 recent ones have redeemed it.
Yes. They have.
Yeah. And I highly recommend this. I give it a 9 out of 10.
And I will say this too. There were a couple of Easter eggs that I felt were like shoehorned in, but that's that's also one of my low problems with the script is that some of the Easter eggs felt a bit shoehorned in, including one that was like, really, what does this have to do with Ghostbusters? All of a sudden, but that's besides the point. Like I said, this is still an 8 out of 10 film. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. It's one of the most underrated films of the year.
Yeah.
All right. As for the next movie, Tick, Tick, Boom, this is the exact opposite of what that disastrous Dear Evan Hansen movie was.
Oh my God, yeah.
It handles its subject matter in a precise and tasteful way. It's well directed by first-time director Lin-Manuel Miranda, which a name of which we'll mention again in an upcoming review. And the songs are catchy, upbeat, and well choreographed, and it's led by an outstanding performance by Andrew Garfield, who better get nominated for this movie. This year might be the year for musicals, and this is one of the best examples. Why? 10 out of 10.
I did have some issues with some of the pacing issues, like in the middle, but that's really it. This is one of the better movies I've seen this year. I love the story. The script was very good. The directing was absolutely fantastic by Lin-Manuel Miranda. The acting is absolutely terrific. Andrew Garfield was phenomenal. This is one of the best performances I've seen from an actor this year. And he's actually my second best performance by an actor I've seen this year, behind one that I'm going to get to in a little bit.
Yeah.
And the musical sorry, the musical numbers were absolutely incredible. I really love the soundtrack and the songs for this. The cinematography is fantastic. It's very well edited. There's some great humor in it, and it's very well written, very well directed, and overall, it was just a really entertaining experience from start to finish. One of the better movies I've seen this year. It's a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, and I feel like that the film is so good that Andrew Garfield should get another Oscar nomination, and
yes,
he's one of my favorite actors, as well as one of my 2 favorite Spider-Man actors, alongside Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
Well, and we'll just have to see if the 2 of them end up in Spider-Man No Way Home.
We'll have to wait and see what happens.
Anyways, King Richard. To me, this is yet another typical awards-grabbing sports biopic. Will Smith is solid in the title role, but it's the 2 actresses who play the Williams sister who truly deserve all that awards buzz.
Yeah, they were incredible.
It's not exactly perfect as it follows the typical sports biopicisms and feels way too long at 145 minutes, but I'd say it's worth seeing at least once. 7 out of 10.
To me, I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie, and it's one of my favorite movies. It's one of the best movies I've seen this year. My only problem I did have with the film is that I wish they delved more into Venus' sister, Serena.
And Serena is the champion.
Right, exactly. I wish they could have delved more into that and her love for and how she got her love for tennis. I mean, I get why they wanted to focus more on Venus, but I'm Richard Williams too. Richard Williams too, but it's just I would have liked it if they also focus on Serena as well.
Yeah.
You guys know what I mean. But besides that, I absolutely love this movie. I did feel the length, but every minute of this felt warranted to me. Felt well earned to me. The script was great. It's very well directed. The story had me emotionally engaged. The acting is absolutely terrific. Will Smith gives out my favorite performance of the year so far as Richard Williams. He was absolutely incredible. But as Søren pointed out, the actresses that played Venus and Serena were absolutely incredible. They gave out one of the best performances I've seen this year. One of the best breakthrough performances of the year, too, I should say. And John Bernthal was incredible in this movie. I loved him. And the actress that played I'm sorry. The actress that played the mother of Venus and Serena, she was absolutely incredible too. All the acting is fantastic. The musical score is great. Its cinematography was fantastic. It's very well edited, very well paced. The humor is fantastic. And when it came to the tennis sequences, how it was directed and choreographed and edited, that was very well done. And the ending was absolutely terrific, too. I absolutely love King Richard. It is one of my favorite movies I've seen this year, and I give it a 9.5 out of 10.
And speaking of underwhelming movies that Nick loved,
this will probably be one of our biggest disagreements.
Yeah, another animated film of the past 3 years that's trying to be groundbreaking, but to me, ends up telling a flawed and trite story. Encanto. Now, don't take this the wrong way. It's kind of a stretch that to say that Encanto isn't good. It's got a decent concept, good animation, and fun side characters. However, I do have my fair share of issues with it. First off, the story is a complete ripoff of Coco. There's this one member in the family that is completely ostracized because of a misunderstanding, and because of that, the family and everything around them start to crumble until our protagonist goes on this little adventure to set things right through magical shenanigans. Plus, it goes for a ton of cliches that I'm not a big fan of. The protagonist not being listened to, the third act breakup, the predictable reunion, which I wouldn't mind so much, except that the pacing is all over the place. While they're not needlessly dragging things out, they're completely skimming past them, especially in the ending where everything goes back to normal. Now for the music. I really like Lin-Manuel, as evidenced by my aforementioned gushing of Tick Tick Boom, but his songs all seem rather samey. These upbeat Hispanic dance songs. I will admit the Bruno song is a banger. So yeah, this is pretty much up there for me with Frozen as one of Disney's most ambitious films, but with script and tonal prowess that really bring it down. And unfortunately, it's one that I don't really see myself watching it again. So my apologies, Nick, but I'm giving Encanto a 6 out of 10.
I do see where you're coming from with this. I mean, I do agree with you that it does go for those cliches that I really wish they didn't do that. But that was really my only problem with the film. My only minor problem with the film. Everything else I absolutely loved. I absolutely love this movie. I love the story. I love the animation. I love the writing. I love the directing. I love the characters. I love the voice acting. I love the soundtrack and the songs. I love the editing. I love the way it was paced, and I also love the humor too. And it does deliver a great message, and I really also love the ending as well. So, yeah, I really love this movie. I think it's not the best animated movie I've seen this year. I still think The Mitchells versus the Machines still retains that title, but I still thought Encanto was nevertheless another like. I still thought Encanto was like one of the most magical movies that Disney has made in a while. And also, okay, I'm gonna retract my flaw with the film, because really my only minor flaw I had with the film is that I did some of the supporting characters did feel a bit underdeveloped, and I wish they could have spent more time with them. But that's really it. That's really it. And I didn't see the story being as like a ripoff of Coco. I mean, yes, it does feel a bit similar. Yes, admittedly, it does feel a bit similar, but not once did I see it as like a ripoff.
Yeah, I will say that's not a complete ripoff. At least it's not like Barbed Wire ripping off Casablanca.
Right. But overall, it's not the best like I said, it's not the best animated film I've seen this year. I still think The Mitchells versus the Machines is a bit superior, but regardless, I still love Encanto, and I still highly recommend this one. And I would argue it's one of the most magical movies magical animated movies that Disney has made in years. So 9.5 out of 10.
As for my final movie review, Ridley Scott, what were you thinking?
Oh, God.
House of Gucci is an aimless waste of time that doesn't know whether to be a biopic on the Gucci family or a scandal film between Anne Driver and Lady Gaga. The production values are good, and the cast members are solid, except for Jared Leto and his shitty Mario impression.
Oh my God!
But the film also drags on to the point where you feel every second of its egregious runtime and constantly checking your watch. I was really excited about the trailer, but ultimately I was severely disappointed by this one. 4 out of 10.
I was also disappointed with this film too. It's one of the biggest disappointments I've seen this year. Gee, if you thought Eternals was disappointing, try sitting through this. This movie was absolutely disappointing. The only things I did like about House of Gucci was that most of the acting was very good. Lady Gaga is absolutely incredible in this movie. While I still think her performance in A Star Is Born is a bit superior, she nevertheless delivers such a fantastic performance. And you also got Adam Driver, Salma Hayek, Jeremy Irons, and Al Pacino, who I think delivers such a fantastic performance. Al Pacino was absolutely terrific in this movie. The cinematography is fantastic. I love the soundtrack. The production values and costume design were absolutely terrific. And sadly, that's all I can say. Sadly, that's all I can say about this movie. This movie was a mess. Oh my god. The script is a huge mess. Since not only did some of the dialogue feel very clunky, but almost every character feels underdeveloped. Like it's hard to get emotionally invested in the characters when they're just paper thin and just forgettable. The story's a mess, and so was the pacing, and the film is way too long. Like, why did it have to be 157 minutes? Why? At least with Ridley Scott's last movie, which came out in October, The Last Duel, which by the way, after thinking about it more, I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Even though my only problem with the film is that it was a bit too long, at least some parts of it, like with its runtime, felt earned. But with like House of Gucci, I get it. Sometimes bigger is better. But most of it's, I get it. Sometimes, yeah, bigger is better. But sometimes it's not always the case. And House of Gucci is one of the worst examples of this. And it's just, and Jared Leto.
Yeah, if you want to take a good example of bigger's better, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Because
or Schindler's List and Ben-Hur.
Yeah,
Lord of the Rings.
I'm saying a good example.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jared Leto. Dude, what the hell was that?
I would go as far as to say this is making his Joker look like an Oscar-winning role.
Yeah, really. It's just he's like Fat Mario if he was like on cocaine.
Yeah, imagine if he said, "You know what they say, all toasters toast toast." I got Brock Baker to say it.
Wow. It's clumsily directed, clumsily edited. The pacing drags on in a lot of parts, and it just goes for those cliches that we've seen in other movies before. I don't hate this movie, but House of Gucci is nevertheless one of the year's biggest disappointments, and I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. What a disappointment! But at least it's a master. At least that film was a masterpiece compared to another film which I'm going to talk about. Søren, do you have any more reviews before I talk about some of mine?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Remember when Paul W.S. Anderson made those Resident Evil movies and how most of them were like crap?
Yeah. The first one was the least bad, though.
Right. This one made me want to apologize to Paul W.S. Anderson. This is not just one of the worst video game-based movies I've ever seen. This might be controversial in my opinion, but I don't care. This is my least favorite of the Resident Evil movies. Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City.
Or as I once dubbed it, Resident Evil Sony, welcome to the rice fields, motherfuckers.
Or even better, Resident Evil, welcome to Epic Failure City. This movie Oh my god. This movie was horrendous. I absolutely hated this movie. I really hated this one. This is not just one of the year's very worst movies. It's one of the worst video game-based movies I've ever seen in my life. I mean, there was nothing redeeming in this movie whatsoever. The acting is absolutely atrocious. I feel bad for the actress that played Claire Redfield. I know she's trying her best in the film, but the way her character was written, what the fuck? The rest of the acting is terrible too. When you not only have like miscast like Avon Joka from he was from Victorious, if you guys know, who was horribly miscast as Leon S. Kennedy. So like Robbie Amell being horribly miscast as like Chris Redfield. You also get Tom Hopper as Albert Wesker, giving out one of the worst performances I've seen this entire year.
Yeah, and there were some race bendings because a majority of the characters in the original game are white, and some of them are like, Asian or black or whatever.
Yeah. The story is an absolute mess. I mean, the story's an absolute mess. They're basically... I never played the Resident Evil games, but I did see the cutscenes for some of the Resident Evil games to prepare myself for this, and I'm not even kidding. They basically used the same story as Resident Evil, but
1 and 2.
Right, exactly. But they just made it worse. The script is horrendous. This is one of the worst scripts of the year. Not only are the characters poorly developed, but the dialogue is horrendous. Where you have characters saying fuck a lot just for the sake of a joke. And speaking of the comedy, it's also cringe. And now look, like I said before, with characters saying fuck a lot just for the sake of a joke. Now listen, I don't mind cursing in movies. I don't mind foul language in movies. But when you have characters saying fuck a lot just for the sake of a joke, just for the sake of comedy, it falls very flat on its face.
Yeah. This kind of reminds me of DMC Devil May Cry, where the succubus is like, fuck you! Dante's like, fuck you, and she's like, fuck you! She was vomiting. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. Oh my god.
Oh, and before you go, I just found this clip that perfectly describes Nick's reaction after watching this movie. What he's saying to Paul W.S. Anderson. And that axe slap is him decapitating the director of this piece of shit.
Yeah, the director is Johannes Roberts. I've seen a couple of his movies. Like, I didn't see 47 Meters Down 1 and 2, but I did see The Other Side of the Door and The Strangers Pray at Night, and both of them were shit. But this might be my least favorite movie that he's done. Not only is I already mentioned the script, but the way he directed this movie is absolutely abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. And when it came to the action sequences, oh my god. Look, this isn't as bad as the editing in like the final chapter, but the way it was edited, especially with the action sequences, Jesus, did a 5-year-old do the editing? Like, oh my god. The cinematography is absolutely terrible, and so are the film's visual effects. And not only does it go for those cliches that we've seen in other films before, but the way the monsters were set up, including one towards the end of the film. Oh my god, they looked absolutely horrendous. Oh my god. And this the ending is absolutely terrible, because just when you thought it was starting to get interesting, it just ends.
Yeah, and imagine if someday George A. Romero's script for Resident Evil got shown.
Honestly, I would rather see that than see this trip.
Yeah, I'm just saying it would be amazing if the script got leaked.
Yeah, really. Oh, and don't get me started on the post-credit sequence. It is absolutely abysmal that they even chose that. It's just, I'm gonna have to spoil this So, big warning if you don't want to be spoiled with this film.
Like, who's gonna give a shit? Just spoil the crap out of it.
Okay, so early in the film, we see that Albert Wesker died. But then in the mid-credits scene, he awakens in a body bag, unable to see anything. And then a figure then hands him sunglasses and reveals herself as Ada Wong.
Yeah, and some vital characters from the first two games were missing.
Yeah, really. And remember when we mentioned earlier that the fan service in Ghostbusters Afterlife was well handled?
Yeah.
Well, they used the fan service in Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, or Epic Failure City, and it was so poorly handled. And not only that, it was so inconsistent.
Yeah.
This movie is an absolute abomination. It is easily one of the very worst movies I've seen this year. And you might have guessed what I'm going to give this. It is easily a 0 out of 10.
F minus minus.
Seriously, fuck this movie. Fuck this movie up its own fucking ass.
Well, at least Sony handles Spider-Man somewhat better than Resident Evil.
Yeah. Okay, so good thing my last movie I'm going to talk about at least ends on a high note. My last movie is a documentary film, actually, and it's one of my favorite films I've seen this year, Julia. Now, if you don't know what Julia is a documentary film that chronicles the life of one of the most iconic like cooks of all time, Julia Child. This documentary was an absolute delight from start to finish. Was a delightful treat from start to finish. From scene one all the way through not only were the interviews not only did I love the interviews, but I also love the way they showed like the archival footage of like not only the show, like Julia Child's show that she had back then. The cinematography is absolutely terrific. It's very well edited. The musical score is fantastic. It's very well directed, and I was emotionally invested in the story of the documentary. And not to mention, it's also very inspiring to those who want to be just who want to cook just like what Julia Childs did. And I should also mention the film is very funny. When it came to the humor, it's very spot on, including that one clip they showed. I'm not going to spoil it, but when my mom and I saw this in the theater, we were dying of laughter when they showed that clip. It was that funny. And if I had to point out one small issue I did have with the film, I did feel the documentary was a bit too short. I did wish they would have added like 15 more minutes of it, like because I know there was some information about Julia Child. They forgot to like cut. They forgot to add in the film. I understand why they weren't able to, maybe because of budget reasons and stuff. But that's really. But still, I really wish they could have added like 15 more minutes of it. But besides that, this documentary was amazing. I absolutely love Julia. It's entertaining, it's inspiring, it's funny, it's delightful, and it's a wonderful treat for those that love Julia Child. Absolutely a great documentary and one of the best movies I've seen this year. 9.5 out of 10.
All right, so that's
check it out. Check it out if it's at a theater and review.
All right, that's it for our movie reviews, and now to conclude this podcast with a couple lists we got. First off is the top 15 films of 2011, and my honorable mentions are War Horse, Super 8, Paranormal Activity 3, Captain America: The First Avenger, Adventures of Tintin, Winnie the Pooh, Young Adult, Midnight in Paris, and boy, Nick's gonna kill me for this. A Separation.
Really? Wow. I won't mention it yet, but I'm probably gonna spoil it anyway because it was already my number one film of that year. So, well, that's your list. So, anyway, why don't we get on with it?
My number 15 is Moneyball. Number 14 is 50-50. Number 13, Rango. Number 12, The Descendants. Number 11, Hugo. Number 10, Warrior. Number 9, Kung Fu Panda 2. Number 8, Source Code. Number 7, Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol. Number 6, We Need to Talk About Kevin. Number 5, The Muppets. Number 4, Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Number 3, Drive. Number 2, The Artist. And number 1, Steve McQueen's Shame.
Nice. All right, so I've listed this was a very hard list to make because of how many movies there were on my list. So excuse me. So without further ado, I'm going to try my best to I'm sorry, just give me a second. Shit. Sorry, just give me a second. All right, there. All right, so here are my top 20 films of 2011. Number 20, Super 8. Number 19, Contagion, directed by Steven Soderbergh. Number 18,
the movie that accurately predicted 2020.
Yeah.
But was made during the swine flu.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was. Number 18, Bridesmaids. Number 17, Kung Fu Panda 2. Number 16, The Muppets. Number 15, My Week with Marilyn. Number 14, The Help. Number 13, Steve McQueen's Shame. Number 12, 50-50. Number 11, Beginners. Number 10, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Number 9, Steven Spielberg's War Horse. Number 8, Bennett Miller's Moneyball. Number 7, Woody Allen's Midnight in Paris. Number 6 is going to surprise a lot of you guys because I absolutely love this movie, and I do think it was one of the most beautiful films of the last decade. Terrence Malick's The Tree of Life.
That's a polarizing one.
It is. Number 5, The Descendants, directed by George Clooney. I'm sorry, Alexander Payne. Number 4, Nicholas Winding Refn's Drive. Number 3, Martin Scorsese's Hugo. Number 2, The Artist. And my number 1 film of 2011, A Separation.
All right. Our final list is
one of my favorite films of that year happens to be Rango. It even had an extended cut.
I loved Rango.
Yeah, me too.
It deserved Best Animated Feature.
You know what? That definitely belongs on my top 20 list. I would replace My Week with Marilyn with that film.
Yeah.
All right, and now for something that we haven't done in a while. So, My Little Pony's Friendship is Nicer Season 5, I thought was decent. A few bad episodes, but some of the best episodes of the series as well. So, all right, on to
I
the
already
bad.
have my worst and best, so.
All right, so for the bad episodes, number 26, What About Discord?
Fuck this episode.
Number 25, Make New Friends but Keep Discord.
Mediocre.
Number 24, Thanks for the Memories.
That was also mediocre.
Why, thank you, Andy. Thanks.
Number 23, Appaloosa's Most Wanted.
It was also mediocre.
Number 22, The One Where Pinky Knows. Number 21, Party Pooped. Average episodes. Number 20, Bloom and Gloom. Number 19, Princess Spike. Number 18, Hearthbreakers. Number 17, Made in Manhattan. Number 16, Rarity Investigates. Good episode.
Dear Princess Celestia, I would like to forget about the bad episodes I've been in.
Yeah. As for the good episodes, number 15 is Castle Sweet Castle. Number 14, The Hooffields and the McCults. Number 13, Lost Treasure of Griffinstone. Number 12, Canterlot Boutique. Number 11, Scaremaster. Number 10, The Main Attraction. As for the great episodes, number 9 is an episode that I really don't get the hate for. Do Princesses Dream of Magic Sheep?
That's a very underrated episode, honestly.
Number 8, Kitty Remark Part 2. Number 7, Slice of Life. Number 6, Crusaders of the Lost Mark. Number 5, Brotherhood Social. Number 4, Kitty Remark Part 1. Number 3, Amending Fences. And number 2 and number 1, The Cutie Map.
Nice. As for the worst is obviously What About Discord, which tied with a season 8 episode, A Matter of Principles. It's my least favorite episode, as my most hated episode of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. Fuck that episode. Fuck it up its ass.
Or
What?
find it in the Alps.
What is that?
Or find it in the Alps.
Yeah, really. But my favorite episode of season 5 was originally my number 1 before season 7 episode, which we'll mention when we do the season 7 ranking. Took it, is indeed Amending Fences. What a phenomenal episode!
All right. So that's it for another episode of the FilmBrony Podcast. Stay tuned for till the end of December where we find out which Oscar movies which Oscar movies succeed, what the best movies of 2010 are, how My Little Pony Season 6 ranks among the rest, and whether Toby and Andrew are on No Way Home.
Right, and in episode 23, we're also going to be presenting our list, me and Søren's list of the worst movies that he and I saw this year. Because even though we're not quite done with the year yet, since there's still more movies to come out, I feel confident with what my worst films of the year are. But like I said, we're not going to mention the list until on our next podcast, which will be at the end of December. So do stay tuned for that, guys, because do tune in soon for that, because it's going to be one heck of an experience when you get to hear our list. But anyway, I want to thank Søren and Christian. Thank you guys so much for being on this podcast once more, and thank you guys for watching. And as always, be sure to subscribe to Søren and Christian. They are wonderful guys to talk to, and they are wonderful creators. The link is in the description down below. Give them the love they absolutely deserve, because they absolutely deserve it. And as I mentioned before, and until we meet again for episode 23 at the end of December, as well as the worst films of the year list that will be featured on this podcast. Hope you all have a Merry Christmas And until we meet again at the end of December for episode 23 and the worst of list, Merry Christmas, everybody, and stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Don't forget best of us.
Right.
Put the cookie down.
Put that cookie down!
I was doing my Jerry Stiller impression.
Bye for now, guys.
Bye.